record to this. So, Buju everyone, or Buju in Dinowe Maganadog, Ivy Nin Indigenous Kajagi Nashimong, Gitio Negamin and Dunjaba, Mayangan and Dudame, AICHO and Dunanoki. Hello, all my relatives. My name is Ivy Vineo. I am a direct descendant of a Grand Portage band member, and my father was Bahamian. And I work at AICHO, the American Indian Community Housing Organization, who is co-host to this session tonight. And so welcome to the first of 3 sessions with Gordon Coons, Art as Your Business. And we are co-hosting this session with the Minnesota Indigenous Business Alliance, as well as the Minnesota Native Artist Alliance. And with all of these 3 sessions, and it's so great to be able to partner with other Indigenous organizations to help promote Indigenous artists and their work, and provide Indigenous economic opportunities for Native artists and entrepreneurs. So I want to thank the sponsors, the McKnight Foundation, through our Regional Cultural Treasures Grant, Duluth Local Initiative Support Corporation, and Northwest Area Foundation. Our rules of engagement is we would like for you to put your questions in the chat. I will be moderating that, and so Gordon's going to talk about a topic, and then we're going to open it up for questions, but right after that topic, and then he'll go to the next topic. And so just if a question comes up to in your mind, just put it in the chat, and I'll be moderating that. And then maybe at the end, if we have time, we'll just open it up and people can unmute and ask questions at the end. Let's see. Before I introduce Gordon, I'd like to ask one of our event co-hosts Gracie Horn. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like a little nervous. She's a leader, an artist, and a representative of the Minnesota Native Artist Alliance. And I asked her if she would speak about Minnesota Native Artist Alliance. So Gracie.
Wopida, Ivy, and hello everybody. Gracie Horny Machiapie, Sisituan, Kvetuan Oyate, Naku Hunkpapa Oyate, Naku Wkspekute Oyate, Mitiojbe, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Southside Minneapolis, Edwati. Hello, my name is Gracie Horn. My people are the Sistenwapton Nation based out of South Dakota, the Standing Rock Nation based out of North Dakota, and the Sioux Valley Nation based out of Sioux Valley, South Dakota. I currently reside in Southside Minneapolis. I am one of the storytellers is my position for the Minnesota Native Arts Alliance. The Minnesota Native Arts Alliance is creating space for dialogue, experimental practice, and community engaged work that contributes to new ideas and an understanding of how art mediums might be translated and transformed by Native knowledge, traditions, aesthetics, performance, and land use systems. If you find yourself as an artist and you would like to either receive help with getting your artwork photographed, please find us. We are at SOTA, MNISOTA, Native Artists Alliance.org. And we not only just, I guess, cater to the people that subscribe to us, we also like to make sure that we push forward all artists, all Native arts in Minnesota. So without further ado, I'd like to hand it back to Ivy. Thank you for your time and enjoy the workshop. I'm sure I already know it's going to be great.
Thank you so much, Miigwech. Gracie, for joining us. I'm going to spotlight Gordon as I introduce him. So Gordon Coons is based in Minneapolis. He's an enrolled member of the Lac Courte Oreilles Ojibwe Reservation near Hayward, Wisconsin, and he's a direct descendant of the Ottawa Nation. Gordon is a painter, printmaker, and fumage artist. Largely self-taught, he paints in the Ojibwe woodland style and creates fumage, smoke art by burning cedar. He also prints with linoleum blocks. Coons draws inspiration from his Anishinaabe heritage, and his bright color palette comes from his natural surroundings in the surroundings in the Great Lakes region. Although his artwork is contemporary, each piece portrays a unique view of traditional Native stories. He's shown in multiple galleries and museums across this nation, across Turtle Island, and he has won numerous recognition, awards, and commissions for graphics, prints, paintings, and assembled sculptures. I put his website address in the chat. And so I'm gonna turn it over to Gordon. So miigwech, Gordon.
Bonjour. I'm glad you're all here tonight for this event. I hope it gives you some information about myself. Yes, I have my two parents. My father is from LCO, so it's Ojibwe from the Anishinaabe, and my mother is from Northern Michigan. Ottawa. She used the word Ottawa, but I know it's been changed, but I still want to use what she considered her tribal. I do live in Minneapolis, over here by Kakabikan, in Donjiba is where I'm from. Where I reside, that's a word meaning jagged rock, so that's what St. Anthony was to us. We know that as jagged rocks. Ivy told you a little bit about what I do, and I enjoy the graphical side of it. And I do smoke images, and the one behind me you can see is done with smoke and 24-karat gold leaf representing the solstice, sunrise. I do a lot of celestial events, and I put them in my works, and because it provided nourishment and life to us in our history. So anyways, I have a few points here I want to bring up here, and I hope this is what will help you and something to consider. And one of the points that you had seen is, what is your vision? And you have to think about what does that mean, really? I think it's your artist journey, and you have to look at who is your circle of influence. I mean, where do we create our work from? There's a lot of painters out there who paint trees and it's a tree. Well, we have stories about trees, and so that's where we're bringing our culture forward, and we're letting people know that we are still out there, and these are the stories that kept us going over our history of our people. So I try to use historical events like the Celestius movement in the background, of the summer solstice, and other points of history. I have some other I consider interesting things about history, and one of them I did was, it was, part of it was the fun thing. I put a price tag on it. It was $14.92. Some people caught it, some didn't, so it was kind of fun for me to do it. So I want to bring my family stories into them. The Ojibwe family we have, and then how our relationship was to the broader world, and that's really what I want to do, is make sure that we don't get forgotten. So I think that would probably be the quickest point to have right now, Ivy, if you want to ask. If anybody has any questions about,
About crafting your vision.
Yes. Well, I'll go on to the next one, is what I call creating works. It really has to talk about materials. As a painter myself, I don't use house paints, because you got to have, even though house paints last a while, they still fade. So you want to use light fatness paint. And not that I don't have any real experience on beading, but I know when I look and collect beading, I'm looking for stuff that's made with, I don't like to buy anything that has plastic on it. It's made with plastic, so I'm looking for real beads and real, glass beads, and make sure there's bones and it's done with leather, and it's got a good thread. It isn't an inexpensive thread. And so you ask these questions, and I can do those things a little bit talking to individuals and vendors. So if you want to be true to your work, you want to make sure that you're really what you're doing in the long run is you're developing patrons down the road. They might buy something small, they might buy something bigger as their relationship is developed with you. So try to use the best material you can, search it out, and create your work from there, I think, and you'll be successful in it.
Say, Ivy,
Yes.
I got it. I don't know if it's just me, but my chat is disabled. I don't know if that's true for everybody.
Oh, let me check. Thank you for letting me know.
There we go.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you. Miigwech.
Yep. Miigwech to you. Gordon, can you share a little bit about your process? Like when you decide you're gonna do a painting.
Actually, I hope it doesn't sound too hokey, but one of my images are I do dream about some of these things, and I come up with something, I put things together. And so it's really relying on my history. But what I do, the physical piece is, I'll just tell you a quick one about the smoke picture. As you can see behind me, I have a sheet of paper that I at an angle, I light cedar sticks. On this image here, I'm sorry, I did put down the gold first. And then I put a little piece of tape over the gold, so when I do the smoking, it doesn't get on the gold as much. So what I do is I have bigger, small sticks, and I'll have bigger sticks and different sizes in between. So I'll light those, and I'll just let the smoke go up, and the paper that I use grabs the smoke, and it's actually, it transfers quite well to it. If you've ever been camping and you know what the smoke gets on your pots and pans, it's kind of the same thing. So I kind of was trying stuff a long time ago when my son was in Boy Scouts and washing pots and pans and just playing with that. And then I walked on my hallway, and I seen the sun shining through some framing wire that I had, and I said, that looks just like smoke. And so I started trying it, and this is what I come up with now. So it's the first couple I did one, and it came out okay. And then I said, I did the next one I did, and then I started going faster and faster, because I thought I knew what I was doing. And I set the third one on fire. So I do these outside because they get smoky. So I also, I have work that I try to seal to make sure they're protected. And the sealers that they have that you can use, you couldn't use a roller, so it had to be a spray. Sprayed it, but when you put down water, it makes dots all over. Well, the sealer did that. It did real good in the center, but dots all over, so I'd wreck that picture. So in fact, they're not sealed anymore. I've been doing these for numbers of years, and the smoke does not fall off of the paper like it does on some pastels. But I do have a half-inch space between the image and the frames that I make. And my bigger smoke picture, this is a bigger one, it's 26 by 26. I put it under conservative glass, so it's a little bit, it's a museum quality glass is what I use. And when I do my linoleum block prints, I have a piece of linoleum, and usually they're in some size. And I've done some that's 36 inches by 36, and some smaller ones 5 inches by 5 inches. So I use all my materials. I try not to waste any, so I keep on using them. And then I'll ink at the block with usually oil inks, and I'll lay the paper down. I'll rub the back with a little spoon, and I'll pick it up. It's kind of like stepping on tar in the road. You know how that sticks like that? So it sticks. And then that dries, or I usually let it dry, and then I cut the block and I ink it. I'll lay the paper in the same spot, and I'll pull up that ink. So changing colors like that, and then I'll cut away. So it's called reduction block, because when you get done, your block has been cut up so much you can't make anymore. So you do a series, and my numbers end up being odd numbers, because when I do them, I'll make a mistake or I'll drop one, so one drops out of the whole series. So I do more than I know I'll end up with. So I end up with the oddball edition series. And what I used to do is, when I first started out, I thought, well, this was, you know, it's kind of fun. So I just doing more. So I did a lot of them. When I say a lot, it'd be like 50, 54. But when I enter some of the shows, they don't want any additions more than 25. And that's like Santa Fe Indian Market. You can't add anything more than 25. And it's something, there's another short, I don't know if it's, I can't remember the number, because I usually don't do any more than, I don't do 25. I'll do less than 20, but I'll do 25 on some. The one is, you know, you got to sell these things, and you know, you need to bring new work to everybody. So yeah, you kind of defeat yourself a little bit if you make too many, because you keep bringing the same ones and the same ones, and pretty soon some of your patrons will slightly move on to someplace else. So I keep it low, attracts people. Then I paint in the Woodland Art Style, and I used to use acrylics, but I also paint in use oils. But that started from a fella in Norvell Morrisville started that, and he passed in 1972, so it's been a while. But what it was, it's images. I believe they came from etchings and rocks and birch bark scroll stories put together. If you look at Woodland Art Style, it's kind of a little more graphic. So going back to my block prints, I started out with block prints. I read an article in a magazine. I said, "Hey, I can do that." So I just started doing it. I started going to shows. I usually end up marketing it. You have to decide, you know, who your audience is, and you kind of create work that's available for everybody, and that's kind of what I try to do. And I do some things in stone. I use soapstone because it's kind of nice, but it's real. It's a real. It's a usual stone you use, and then I make things with wood. I assemble stuff on hubcaps, moon hubcaps. If you're old enough, you'll know that those are the shiny, rounded, moon-looking hubcaps, and I assemble things on them. Usually bears. That's what I do. Mock with a bear. I usually put them on as a healer. So I use gold in my smoke images. I do it on some of my block prints, but you know, gold is considered our grandfather. So I consider that as a grandfather. So the moon is grandmother. So I use silver leaf. So I actually use silver leaf to bring in grandmother into my images. And I also use copper leaf for grandmother, for, you know, harvest moon and things like that. And those are really the only times I really use that. The gold and the silver leaf and the copper leaf. I also make all my frames that support my works. It makes it, to me, it's extra work, but it reduces the price for, you know, don't going out to a frame shop. It ends up costing a lot of money.
I'm sure. We do have a question.
Sure.
Have you always supported yourself through your arts, or did you move slowly into your art business?
Well, you know, one thing that you always hear is starving artists. And I'm not at the level that's completely all supporting. I mean, there's a lot of expenses. You know, you have your insurance, your health, your rent, your car maintenance, all those other expenses. So it's tough to sell art. I do pretty good with it. I get to travel a lot. I go to a lot of different places. New Orleans Jazz Heritage Festival, I went down there 11 days. So a lot of my art does help me cut those costs, you know, completely down sometimes. And then I also make some money on the top of it, which is real nice. And as you progress in your art career, you'll see that people, if your level is what your type of work maybe is what they're looking for, and then they'll purchase your work as a commissioned work, or You know, I have a numbers of works, and which is surprising to me, in health hospitals. So I get a lot of in clinics and health places, and then to me it's amazing, you know. And I'm really glad that my work is appreciated and accepted in different places.
So you don't have a day job and you're an artist, or are you
Well,
just an artist? Not just, but are you only an artist?
right now I'm only an artist. I've been like this for I don't know. As you get older, you know, my hair's kind of gray, so I've been at it for a while. This is probably 10 years. So I've been doing this, but you know, you want to make, you want your art, you know, that I look at as you want art to be a work, you know, that you're working on. You don't want it to be a job where it's just terrible to do, you know. We have those jobs that hit us and don't really supply any real, they provide financial support to your life, but they don't give you that soul, they don't feed your heart. And so work of art does that for me.
All right, there's another question, but I think you're gonna get to pricing, right? Is that one
Yeah,
of your points?
we're going to talk, next is going to be about pricing.
All right, okay, so Kent, hold on.
Well, should I talk about pricing a little bit?
Sure, let's,
Well, they say there's 5 types of pricing, but really there's 6. And really, you know, pricing is hard. It's not clear cut. You know, you can't say this is what you're going to do and this is what's going to happen. And a lot of it is you have to think about who you're selling to, and you have to think about, you know, when I always sell art, you know, when I first started out, I started thinking, well, I think these people are giving me a bag of groceries for what I'm paying, you know. So I have to think about that. I think, how, you know, that's how I started out collecting art before I started making art. So you have to think about that kind of thing, and you know, it's good you want to be compensated for your stuff, but you got to watch out. You put your prices too high, and then you're just like it's a pyramid, right? Your top people are not as broad, or they'll buy a couple pieces from you and never hear from them again. So as you have to decide what, you know, there's things you have to consider. So part of the 6 methods, what they call our arting sales, they call it food and rent. I mean, that's really, if you're a full-time person, you got to pay for those things. So you have to figure out what your cost of living is. You know, like I said, we talked about this before. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, you know, whoever's married or not married, you got kids, you got to pay, you got to support them. So there's a lot of tough to do if you want to be full-time usher. You know, if you look at people like, you know, I have a friend, Kevin Red Star, when he sells his pictures, $56,000. I mean, you know, I wish I could do that, but you know, it's going to take a while to get to that level. And not everybody makes it, but just so there's market-driven prices, and that's really is what you basically walk around at a market or a gallery or something like that and see what the other people are. And if you think your work is comparable to what's being offered at price, maybe you consider that should be what you're selling. But again, it's where do you sell your art? You have to get out and away from your home base, because you're saturating it. There's not enough exposure. People seeing you from at this store and that store, you know, then it's tough to sell in home. You can do it, but it makes it harder. So let me see what else I get. Sorry, and my paper's out of order. The easiest one is they call a rational method, and that's kind of what you do is you talk about. One is you figure out, what do I want to get paid, you know, and then you add in your cost of materials, and then you multiply and we're talking about what you want to get paid So your time times some value, some dollar amount. And then they have a markup value that they apply to your work. So if you're selling retail, you'd be like, I'm just gonna say it's $100, and you figured out your time and materials. So you're getting to pay $20 an hour, and then you got 10 hours of work. So that's $200. So that's $400 right there, and you multiply it times a multiplier of 3, and that gives you $900. So it's kind of a general. It's more specific, but that's a lot of ones that they use to decide how to set a price if you don't know. And the other one is then you do wholesale on that same image, and they usually have a multiplier of 1.5. So that image you were selling for $900 is only going to be sold for $450. So you have to decide. When I sell wholesale, I kind of like have 2 separate wholesale processes I use. One is my artworks, and then my reproductions of those artworks. And I have, now I can tell you, there's different types of reproductions. One is I have smaller images that are, I might have images 24 inches by 24 inches, but then I sell an image, a reproduction that's 12 inches by 12 inches. And what, in fact, I do, I'll take that market price and I'll divide it by 2. So I'll sell something that's $24 a reproduction. I'll sell for 12. And really, why I do that is to get in the store, because once you start into and once you are with a business, you do. I'm working for the printer, but I'm selling a lot of work, and I'm not getting as much for it. But my original works, because I'm in the store with my reproductions, they'll accept your original works. And 2 things you can do, which is real nice. One is you can sell it like that. You can sell a wholesale price, or when you're there and you say, you want them to have a vested interest in you. So you say, well, if you're going to take this work, how about if you buy some of my other works? And what I meant was they'll sell you on a commission. So if you want to be a commission, your chances of you hanging up on the wall all the time is maybe not as great, because they have no vested real interest in you. They will sell it. They'll pay you some percentage of what you decide is the commission. And it's so, like I said, there's nothing clear cut about the whole thing. Is just it's a time-consuming game. Is you got to figure out how to do these things. What are you willing to sell your artwork for, and what are you, the place? What are they going to do for you? Are they going to buy your work, and then you sell some on commission, or are they going to have an exhibit and they're going to come pay for the food and show announcements and things like that? Because that's an expense. And they're taking their, like we talked about the 1.5% and the wholesale prices. They got to pay for their lights, their insurance, and things like that. So they have costs they need to recoup. And that's one way of doing it, selling your art to pay for those things. So you got to, it's a thing you got to go back and forth with, and you have to, what did we say?
I do have a question here, if I could ask it. So Gracie wants to know, how does making your prices low, how can that affect other art piece prices? How does making your prices low affect other art prices?
Well, like I said, when I have mine quite low like that, is actually what I'm selling is a small work. It's a reproduction. It's not original work. It's not one of my prints. So it's something that, it's just a way of getting into a gallery space. So I sell these reproductions. They're, no bigger than 12 by 12, 12 by 18, 10 by 12. So it's something that's small. It's done on paper. My original works are done by the guy who digitally reproduced my work on archival paper, and done with pigments, so, and they're put in plastic bags, and they have backings, they have documents with them. So selling it low makes them comfortable with you. You want to make a long-term relationship. You necessarily don't want to do a one-time stop. So to develop that, you need to give them something that makes you more attractive. So if they're carrying your reproductions, and that's the ones that I sell quite reasonable, if they take those and then they see that people are buying your stuff, then they'll ask for your bigger items. So it's a long little battle you got to keep on doing. It's not a completely some people are lucky, can do these things, but then you sell their items quite reasonable, and they have also people sell them quite a little bit more expensive. But it has to do with yourself, your long-term art skill. People are looking at that. I hope that was okay with you. So the other method is intuitive method, and that really means, you make something that feels very special to you. You put a large price on it. You really don't care if you sell it or not sell it. And then when you do, well, it's gone. But so it's just what do you want for it? And part of the thing is well, I'll talk about that a little bit at the end. And the other thing, one more pricing is ask the expert. And I don't know who's the expert, but what you do is you go to a market, you find somebody who's quite similar to you, and you ask them to come over and look at your work, say, how do you think this is? Is this price right? I've had that happen to me a couple of times. They'll ask me to come and take a look at their work, and it's basically your opinion on how their work is. So that's really ask the expert. You can ask your friends or whatever, but it'd be best if you weren't really associated to them. And the last one is number 6, and that's really what it's combining all those other things. Like I said before, it's not a clear-cut thing. So you balance all these different approaches, time and materials. You sell something so expensive that you really want to sell it, but you end up selling it. I hope you're not looking for food and rent to completely do it. It is kind of tough. It's starving. It's a starving artist thing, and that's kind of what I started out with. I did have a day job. I did my art for numbers of years, maybe 10, 15 years. I didn't rely on it to survive, but I was able to, again, use those sales to cut my expenses. And it was fun. I mean, once you do this, once you start marketing and traveling, you develop a whole new group of family. I get invited to weddings out in the pueblos in Mexico. People, when they're in town, they say they're visiting their sister, come on down for Christmas. I'll go down at Christmas. And after a while, people ask you to come stay at their house when you go to the markets. It's really, the patrons are looking to support you. Then you develop a friendship with all your other artist community. I've been working with some of them 25 years. We've been visiting each other and going back and forth, and I see their kids, and I'm taking pictures of their family and their young ones coming up who are starting to be artists, and I'll take a picture of them and send it to them. So it's a different world to be in. And as you go into it, it sounds big, but boy, you wouldn't believe how small it is. Everybody knows everybody. So you want to be truthful to yourself. And what I want to say about the pricing is really you got to have confidence what you're doing. Because one is, since I travel, I don't raise my prices up because I'm going over here, or lower them because I'm going over here. You got to be consistent, because I find, not that they're coming to see me, but I'll have some collectors will come into these markets I go to, and they'll visit me only because they have purchased work from me. So I got to be selling these things at that same level. I can't be at just And it's a tough thing to do, but I want to tell you that you really want to make stuff that you can sell to everybody. So like I said before, I have some big works, or 36 inches by 36 block prints, and they go down to 5 inches to 5 inches, so people can afford them. And really, what it does, it helps me. I call them my gas money ones, or I go these places, I look at. I pay for my booth. Did I sell enough to pay for my booth? And I go, how much expenses I got to take care of? And I keep on going and keep thinking about in the background, keep this magical running total. I finally feel okay. Really, we're making something from it. So it's a tough business. You don't want to be in it, but it's quite fun. And that's what we want to be. We're going to bring it. And it's nice that you get your culture brought out. And what you will find is you'll get requests. I get a lot of requests to go to schools and teach art. So I do that. I don't know how. And then once you start that, I've been doing this one school in Minneapolis for 6 years. I go over there, and then I go to your reputation gets out there, and then you get asked to go to. I do a lot of native, I don't know what you want to call them, but they're native support groups for kids in school that I go to. And then you start looking for places to go. Not only do you get people calling, you get to look out there. So you got to watch out for that. You get too many of them, you'll really get burnt out.
Gordon, should we ask if folks have more questions on pricing?
Sure.
So, yeah, so if any of you have additional questions regarding pricing your work, put that in the chat now. And then if there aren't any questions, then we'll just keep going. We have about 20 minutes, Gordon. And so I'm hoping like the last eight minutes, we could just open it up and just have a conversation too. So people can unmute and have conversation too. So if you want to wait till the end, that's fine as well. So
I hope some of these prices I brought up, it's really might be addressed to more emerging artists, but it's still things you need to think as a professional. I think as a professional, you want to offer as much as you can. Think about going in stores. They got everything in there. They got little $5 items. They got expensive. So you got the space. You have put the effort in. You can sell a variety of things. Variety of sizes, because art is actually it's a problem-solving event. How do you solve these problems? And I think that's why we're on this Zoom call here, is trying to figure out, well, how does he do it? How do you do it? It'd be nice if we could all sit together in a room and sit around the table and talk about stuff that comes up. Well, if we have any more, I got, the biggest thing is you're selling yourself, really. So when you get requests from patrons, you got to respond to them. You don't, when I go to markets, I think about these people, and I think they are my sales force. They're going to buy from me. They're going to go say, hey, I bought this picture from so-and-so. It's a real good deal, and and all this, and then. And somebody else would come in, and I have had families come in and introduce their kids to me, and they start buying. When I say kids, they're 25, 40 years old. They'll come and they'll start buying. I mean, I had people tell me they had to paint their house because they had so many different of my artwork. Each of the room was painted different to support it, and they're excited to tell you where your work is hanging in the room. So I get that a lot. And it's okay. It's fun. So you gotta, you have to commit to your artwork. That's an important thing. You really want to, you gotta put your effort in there to learn about it. I myself, is a self-trained artist, so it's kind of nice. I get to start from ground zero, and I've been building from there, and I still learn more things. I'm trying stuff. I'm gonna get ready to paint on on copper plates with oil paint. So I'm kind of looking forward to doing that. I'll be doing that this winter. So I'm always trying different things. I love to do. Don't forget, so it's a two-way street. You're selling art and they're looking to buy art. And the biggest thing is how to build your patrons, and that's what you want. You want people to keep coming back to you. And actually, like I said, I've been doing it for a length of years, lengthy time, and I actually give away my art too at different markets. Now that maybe sounds a little crazy, but as you develop your reputation, your personality, your understanding of people, you'll know a person that you can trust and give them some. So I have somebody say, well, he says, I can't afford this work right now, and da, da, da. So I'll say, okay, I'll tell you what, you can just take it home and pay me when you can. I mean, the most I had to wait on one picture was maybe 2 years. And so I don't mind it, because it's going to do no good in me sitting in my basement. And these people that I give them to, you can tell there's things that they do, and it isn't just like, can I have free art? You'll monitor them. They'll come back. They'll look at the work. They'll walk away. They'll come back, look at the work, and you can see that they are quite interested in some work. And when I go to these markets, these people who maybe are at that financial level would like to participate, but they're paying to come to these markets. I mean, some of these markets you have to pay to get in to have them. Some are free. And they don't want to, I figure I feel comfortable doing that because I figure these people want to come back to the market next year. They don't want a black little line on their name and, people watch out, because that's another thing in these markets. You'll find out if somebody's passing a bad check, man, it goes like wildfire through the market. You say, hey, don't accept any checks from so-and-so, they're bad or something like that. So like I said, it's a close family group and it's really nice. That you get invented different places all over the world. Another thing you'll need an artist bio and an artist statement. And the artist bio should be written in the third person. And what you want to do is on applications you apply for, you'll see the need. They'll ask for an artist bio, and some will just say like 175 words. It seems like that's about a lot of requests. 175 words, maybe 200 words, and maybe 300 words. They don't want to read everything, so they want to cut it down. So they're looking on their end and their time. That's where that fee comes in if you apply to something that requires a fee for application. The artist statement, it should contain something that's written about your work, right? Of course, the brief text is for support of your art. A brief biography should be a summary of your significant events of your life and that led up to your art career. So people want to learn about you. They want to feel comfortable looking at you, talking to you. So you got to send stuff out to them later on. You invite them when you find out you're going to be in this city or this event. Keep track of your patrons. Let them know you're going to be there, because they bought from you once, maybe they'll buy from you again. So it's very little effort for you to put that in there. But anyways, so I start going back to artist bio and artist statement. Those are usually used by, some are used by gallery shows, but it's usually, I enter a lot of events, online events. Now it's online events because of the pandemic, but in the past it used to be required for applications to get in a show someplace. So it's kind of the same thing, but it's more mailing versus showing up in person. And one of the things, it's interesting, there was a show I used to enter and it says art that goes with your couch. So it's kind of like, what is that? And I had that happen to me at one of my markets one time. And it's another time they're looking for, the people looking for this size. It can't be this big. It can't be that, So it's going with the couch or going with the wall, really. And also I had some people come up and they'll bring a pillow and pull a pillow out of a bag and see how it looks against your work. So you got to be ready for that, you know. So it's like, you know, are they buying art or are they just buying color, you know? So I think they're just buying color. So think about that. It's be acceptable. And I got some weird requests from, not about people just things that are somebody one time asked me if I still live in a DP, you know, I don't know if they're just harassing or what, but that was kind of weird. That was probably maybe 10, 15 years ago, so I don't know. So I think it's kind of interesting how, you know, you'll run into all kinds of people. So be ready. Develop a little bit of callous. Don't be mad at them. Just, you know, okay. Try to shoo them out of your booth because they're not helping. But, or you can bring a friend along. Here's my friend here. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Yeah, I got my Bigfoot.
There he is.
Yeah.
Gordon, we have another question, but I wanted to, you know, say that like a lot of arts grants that people are filling out, they want to know, they want an artist bio and narrative and things like that, and that folks should put in their mission and their vision and their values into that, into that application, into that bio. And so, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. So if you have a, you know, like I said, the first thing is really, who are you? Your vision, what are you doing? And that's what they're looking for. Somebody who feels confident about themselves, strong about themselves, you know, so don't be afraid, put down the vision, incorporate into your you know, your artist bio, like I said, you know, again, written in the third person, you know, artist, you know, it's kind of, I hate doing it, but now that I got a few of them out there, I can just pull from them. But it takes a while. It's lucky enough that every now and then you'll run into a place that they'll have it, actually, well, they'll write it for you. And I've used some of the wordings from them, and so that's real nice. A store, a gallery will have a professional person write it, and pretty soon, wow, that's really nice. I keep reading them. I said, "Who's that?" Oh, it was about me.
I think too, another advice about that would be also to have somebody look it over, make sure there's no spelling errors and things like that.
Well, I guess that's right about that one. You know, I don't give credit, but she's not here in the room, but my wife is really good at English, so I pass everything to her, let her read it. She organizes, she puts it together at Facebook, but, you know, and different entries that I don't do, but I'll come up with that idea maybe, and we'll put something down, but it won't be right, and then she'll correct it, and we'll talk about it. So yeah, it's really good to have somebody look at it. It's good to have an outside person, and you know, my wife is really good at that. I really depend upon her to do a lot of things for me.
Yeah. So we got about less than 10 minutes, and so we have a question. And then I think after this question that I ask, if you want to just unmute and either put your hand up in the chat or just start talking, I think is fine. The question right now is, what advice do you have for new artists who are balancing a day job with art and trying to grow their art business? Advice for that.
Yeah, well, that's kind of when I started out. You know, I had a day job and I did my art, and you know, the markets are usually on a weekend thing, and you know, it depends on how far you want to travel, and you know, the day job gives you vacation. You want to use your vacation or not. But the thing is, to get out there, and it's really nice that if you know, you can mail art to an art show, which is a real nice start. The biggest one that I could say is nationally is like their 45th year or something like that. It's a Red Cloud Indian Heritage Center down in South Dakota at Pine Ridge. When I first entered there, I was scary. My wife said, "Ooh, you really want to send it down to Pine Ridge?" I said, "Oh, okay, I'm going to send it down there." But they've been going on for 45 years, so they're doing something right. And what's happening is they got a world class audience that shows up. From there, I mailed stuff to Paris and Germany and other places because that's where they come down, you know, Wounded Knee, and then the Heritage Center is just a couple miles down the road, and they have a summer-long art show. So it's you know, you gotta find these things, and again, once you get out, once you get talking with myself, you'll find out that there are places you can go. I like to enter, like 90% of the shows are Native American shows, but you know, I do step out of that area and enter other things. It depends on what I want to do. New Orleans Jazz Church Festival had the Indian Village, but they don't have it anymore. But that's when I went down there, so that was kind of fun. But it's you just gotta look out for other places. Like somebody will have a show. Once you get into the tapping, like I said, again, a large circle of family and friends can put you in contact with it. There used to be a lot more groups now than they have now for outreach for artists, craft persons. I myself have 3 places I really don't like to go to, but I do go to them once in a while. Rarely do I. Powwows, they're not looking for art. Casinos, you'll get people walk around. In the days when I used to go, and they used to walk around like the buckets of coins, you know, they're not buying art. And then music festivals, again, they're not buying art. They're looking for T-shirts and stuff like that. And some of these markets will have restrictions on what you can sell. Reproductions is usually out of the bigger art shows. So, you know, don't put a lot of effort into reproductions, but they're looking for original works. So they may, like I said, make small ones, make big ones, you know, think about everything. You want to get out there, and how do you do it? And there are some online places you can check out, but you know, end up causing you a fee to enter an application. So it's a tough thing, and then you got to mail it. That's another tough thing. But it's work, just as long as it's not a job.
If there are any other questions, feel free to unmute and ask the question. We have a few minutes left, and I want to end it with I just want to say a few words at the end. So we need to make time for that. So if you have questions, feel free to unmute or use the chat. This could be just a conversation with Gordon right now, you know, so.
I also hope you enter the other 2 podcasts we're going to have. We're going to talk about, you'll see on the flyers that Ivy sent out, and there'll be a different focus type of thing. And I don't necessarily want you to be like me, but just give you an idea where I've been and how I got here and things you can look for yourself.
Have you ever tried selling on popular platforms like Etsy?
No, you know, that's just it's too much work for that. I don't want to make it a job. I enjoy what I do now, and I also have another life besides just art. So you know, you can sell there. I know a lot of people do, but it's not the arena that I want to play in. You know, so I don't sell to those things. I do get requests from all over. I get a lot of works in hospitals now. I get requests for works, and you know, again, is what do you want to do? If you feel comfortable at it. I'm not, as age-wise, I'm not a real digital person, so I don't get involved with those. And You make these long-term patrons who come and purchase your stuff. Just today, I got another one for somebody who wants my set of cards, and this guy bought a picture probably in 2005. So it's been a while.
Wow. How did you get known by hospitals?
Hospital. Well, you know, it again is I must have stuff in 4 or 5 hospitals right now, but usually other people will track you down. I really don't go on the door and pound on them and say, what can I do for you? I like to say I contaminate these areas I go to. I've been all over the country, and I do talk to galleries and things like that, and tell them what I can do for them and why they should have me. But I don't know how these people are. I do ask, but every now and then they'll still say that they've just been cruising on the website and and the World Wide Web, and they'll find me and they'll look for me and they like my work, and pretty soon we start a conversation, and then it just happens. I sold something up in Essentia Health up in Duluth, but that was tracked down from a place in Madison, Wisconsin. So how about that? So Madison, Wisconsin calls me, and then I'm doing something for Essentia Health, but you just never know. And I don't necessarily look for the hospital. It just works out that my works have apparently that they probably read one of my stories that we have. Talk about healing and different images that fit into the area, and kind of it reaches out to them. And now people are more looking to support not just Indigenous people, but minority people of any type. So they're looking to buy works, and it looks good on their balance sheet that they supporting Native artists and things like that. So you just really it's how much stuff you got there. Especially if you just did a Google search on my name, you'd see a lot of things that I do. I don't put them in my website because I just ain't got the time to do that. I get a lot of them out there, and so I just, what the heck, they're my new workforce, so I let them do their things. It's not too detrimental to my stuff, but.
Okay, so we're at 7:30, and I just want to remind everybody that our next session is December 2nd at the same time, 6:30 to 7:30. I put the registration link higher up in the chat, but I will also email you the recording of this session and the registration link for session 2. And the deadline for registering for that is November 26th. Workshop topics are going to be crafting a business vision, when to say no, and traditional fine art strategies, including self-inking rubber stamp and business cards. So if you are interested in any of those topics and learning more, please register for that session by November 26th. I want to thank Gordon Gordon, for your teachings tonight, and want to thank Gracie from Minnesota Native Artists Alliance. I put their link in the chat as well, their website. And so reach out to them if you are interested in being connected with them. They have some cool things happening. And yeah, so, and then Minnesota Indigenous Business Alliance as well. So Google all those folks and follow them on Facebook and social media. And hope to see you at our next session on December 2nd. These sessions are for and centered for Indigenous, American Indian, Alaska Native artists. So if you know of other artists that would benefit from these sessions, please forward the link out to them as well. So thank you for joining us tonight, and I guess this is it. So miigwech again, Gordon.
Good, yeah. I'm glad everybody was able to show up. I hope it helped out.
Yep. So I will be sending out the recording and the registration, the participant survey link as well, right after this session. So expect that in your email, and if you could fill that out right away, that would be great. I'm going to share the survey with Gordon, and yeah. So have a good night, everybody, and take care. Be well.